There is a beautiful saying that says it is only through the heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eye. There is so much truth and power in that quote. If we could learn to see through our hearts, we will see one another as one. We will learn to see our true essence. We will know that what hurts one hurts the other, and understand that color, race, social classes, sexual preference, and religion are nothing more than ornaments. Ornaments not meant to separate us, but to make us understand diversity. I believe that we are all capable of seeing through our hearts. Children, especially from the ages of 0 to 6, are pure heart. Unfortunately, by the age of 7, we start to classify things in people through a variety of observed and learned behaviors, societal norms, and beliefs. And we begin to make sense of the world around us through our brain. And because the mind, the brain, is a dual organ, it will always seek to classify things into bad, good, right, wrong, mine, yours, fair, unfair, love, fear. So I'm going to tell you a quick story. I'd like to take you back to a time where my oldest daughter, Victoria, was just 4 years of age. She's now 19, so I'm taking you back quite a bit. So Victoria was about to start junior kindergarten, and instead of feeling excited about this great milestone for her, I found myself terrified. Days before the school, or the first day of school would start, I couldn't sleep. I would pace the hallways, or I would go into her room and sit next to her on her bed and just watch her sleep and caress her as the tears will pour down. I was expecting the worst for her. You see, I knew that Victoria was going to give me a really hard time when I would drop her off and cry and cry. Most kids do when it's their first time being separated from their mommies. But that is not what kept me up at night. I was fearful because Victoria suffered from a condition called selective mutism. And for those of you who may not know what that is an anxiety disorder characterized by a child's inability to speak effectively in selective social settings, such as school. So I was afraid that kids will be mean to Victoria, or that she would not make any friends because she couldn't speak. So at a park close to my home, there was a beautiful playground, and you could always find Victoria playing on her favorite spot, the sandbox. And that day there were some older children, I guess 12, 13, and they were playing ball. And that day the ball hit the sandbox, and I guess they yelled at her to throw it back. And Victoria just looked at them and did nothing. She froze. So the kids ran to the sandbox, abruptly picked up the ball, and I guess they must have asked her something, and she didn't even make eye contact. So the children started yelling at her, "Are you dumb? Why can't you speak?" And Victoria just kept her gaze to the ground, and she understood. So as soon as I heard that, I ran from the bench where I was sitting and went towards her. And as I was approaching her, I had to turn my back to her because I didn't want her to see the tears pouring down my face. And I wanted to run after those boys and just shake them and tell them, "How dare you're rude. How dare you hurt my baby." But I didn't. They left running. And I picked up Victoria in my arms and I took her home. Now you understand my hesitation and my worry about Victoria starting school, I guess I was expecting the worst. And as a new mom, I had no experience with children. I was anticipating them to be like me, judgmental. I had forgotten that at that young age, for the most part, kids are purely acting through their hearts. Now, for those of you who may not know, the heart is not a dual organ. So it doesn't judge and it doesn't classify. So to make a long story short, I'm not sure if it was the amazing school environment or the children that were there, but Victoria did not only make one friend, she made many. When Victoria first entered the classroom for the first time, she cried, and I was lucky that the classroom was on an outside wall, so I could peek through the window, crying and crying as I saw all the kids circled around Victoria as they each took a turn to hug her. They never made Victoria feel different because she didn't speak. They never shamed her with questions as to why she didn't. The teachers treated her equal, no special treatment. And I could never understand how Victoria was invited to so many play dates. I would drop her off petrified, wondering how she would handle herself because I was her voice. In fact, I had gotten so used to being her voice. But the beautiful part of the story is that these young children were acting through their hearts. So they didn't see a mute and weird little girl. They saw a friend who happened not to speak. So in the line to pick up the kids, I was grabbing Victoria when I overheard one of the kids in her class point to Victoria while talking to the mom, and they said, "Mom, that's Victoria, the new girl. She doesn't speak, but she will when she is ready." And that was a powerful moment because that child's words implied that there was hope. Up until that point, I never knew if Victoria would speak to anyone else other than myself and her dad. But because that child said that she would speak when she was ready, I held on to that thread of hope. Soon after, Victoria came home with a little note. She had been invited to a play date on the weekend. So naturally, I called the mom, thanked her, and explained to her the situation with Victoria. "If you're not comfortable, I completely understand," I said to her apologetically. "Nonsense," said the mom. "Rachel explained to me that her friend doesn't talk, but that they have the best time every day at recess." So I hung up the phone, and I was thrilled for her, but I was worry sick. And all I kept thinking was, how are they going to communicate? That was the only question in my mind. But anyways, the day came, and I went to drop off Victoria. We rang the doorbell, and the mom and the child come to greet us at the door. The little girl sees Victoria and immediately smiles at her, and without skipping a beat, takes her hand, and off they went to play. And as they went towards the stairs to go to the basement, I kept looking, waiting for Victoria to glance back at me in despair. But she didn't. She was happy. And as they went down, I could hear them giggle. And there she went, guided by her friend. And I was just standing there on the frame of the front door, frozen. I was like paralyzed. I wasn't moving. Meanwhile, the mother was looking at me, hoping that I would leave. And I wasn't, because I was just frozen. So she finally said, okay, you can go now and, come back in 2 hours. And I thought, 2 hours? I said, please, I was hoping that I could stay and just sit here, in case Victoria needs something, in case she needs to speak to me and it needs, whatever. Now the mother's looking at me like I am crazy. And she says, don't worry about it. They will figure it out. And I thought, doesn't she know that Victoria doesn't speak? I didn't know that the play date was just for Victoria. But I could tell that this mom was not going to be happy having me stay in her living room waiting for 2 hours. I'm sure she was busy. So I had no option than to be strong, leave with my heart in my hand, and I went to the car. And I sat there to cry and playing the weird scenarios that Victoria would be thirsty and she would not be able to ask for water. What if Victoria needed to go to the bathroom and she couldn't ask to go to the bathroom? And this went on for 2 hours. I just sat there. Not a minute to spare. I was back into the house, ringing the doorbell, and they opened the door. There's the mom. And I could see Victoria and the little friend coming towards me, still holding hands. And Victoria was all smiles and she had a lollipop in her mouth. And I thought, oh, what a relief. And took her home. And all Victoria did is tell me what an amazing time she had with her friend. And I thought, wow, I guess words were not needed. Language at that point in time for children is inconsequential because they found a way to communicate, to coexist, to play, to form a bond that, to me, in my opinion, can only happen through the heart. Kids don't care whether you live in a big house or if you have money. They don't care about any of that. All they care about is that you want to play, and the rest they make as they go along. So the question is, can we learn to see each other that way? Can we recover some of the blissful nature of our childhood years when all that mattered was the real and pure things in life, when we believed in magic and that anything was possible? Yes, it's true. It is only through the heart that we can see rightly. That is the only explanation that I have for the experience that my daughter went through at a time in her life where love and acceptance were the antidote to overcome her mutism and finally break free of her silence. So I invite you for the rest of the week, let's try to see each other as we once did. The heart feels what the eyes cannot see and what the mind can't understand. When you learn to see through your heart, love has no label, no race, no disability, no religion. Enjoy this amazing clip that follows, and I will see you on the next episode of Conversations from the Heart.
And I can't change, and I can't change, even if I tried, even if I wanted to. My love, my love, my love, she keeps me warm, she keeps me warm, she keeps me warm, she keeps me warm. keeps me warm. She keeps me warm. She keeps me warm.
My heart doesn't see race.
Love has no age limit.
That's my best friend.
We are neighbors and best friends.
We all have different religions, but we have universal love as well.
I love my sister.